Hey guys, it's time for Phonics and Language. Today I want you to practice phonics charts 8 and 9. Make sure you practice them out loud, either to a person or to the mirror, or you could call someone and say them to them. Call up grandma and say you need to practice your phonics charts. Whatever you need to do to practice them out loud. Then come back and finish this video. Today we are talking again about adverbs. So first let's review all the different types of words we've already learned. First we learned nouns. Noun are a person, place, or thing. I'm a noun, you're a noun, Disneyland is a noun, your dog is a noun, my computer is a noun, person, place, or thing. The second type of word we learned was verbs. Verbs are action words. Run, jump, walk, talk, sing, swim, any action you can do. That's a verb. Then we learned what an adjective was. An adjective are words that describe nouns. They give more detail to nouns so we know a little bit more about the person, place, or thing we're talking about. If we talked about a black shirt or an orange bracelet, those kinds of things, if it answers the question what kind or how many, then that means it's an adjective describing a noun. Then yesterday we learned what an adverb was. So it actually has the word verb in it, so it helps you give that little clue. They're words that describe verbs. And we went over these sentences yesterday. The beaver swam quietly. How did the beaver swim? Quietly. The elk bugled loudly. How did the elk bugle? Loudly. So today we're going to put that into a little bit more practice. I want you to know that you can ask yourself how. How did that happen? And that's how you're going to figure out what the adverbs are. So ask yourself how. The other clue that I gave you yesterday was that most of the time, not always, but most of the time, adverbs end in ly. It does so for both of these words and most adverbs. So that's a huge clue to help you find adverbs in a sentence. Now, one thing you're going to be doing on your paper, the first section on page 283, it says, read the sentences, look at the verb, and circle the adverb that tells how the verb was done. Draw a small arrow from the adverb to the verb. So we're going to use these as an example. They already have the verbs underlined for you. The beaver swam quietly. My verb or action word in this sentence is swam. The action that is happening is swam. So I'm going to underline that 2 times. And we already found what the adverb is. So the beaver is a noun. That's what we're talking about. That's the subject of our sentence. The beaver did what? The beaver swam. How did the beaver swim? Quietly. So I already put a box around the word, which yours says to circle it. You can circle it or put a box around it. But now we have to draw an arrow to the word that it describes. So what word is quietly describing? Does this sentence say that the beaver is quietly? No. The beaver swam quietly. His action is happening quietly. So we're going to draw an arrow to the verb it describes. Sorry, got a little smeary. Let's do that one more time. The elk bugled loudly. So what's the action happening in this sentence? The thing that's being done is bugled. I know it's kind of confusing. That's not a normal word we use. It's like making a loud noise. Bugled, it's a specific noise. So, bugled is our action. Elk is the noun, the person, place, or thing that's the sentence is about. So what did the elk do? The elk bugled. But how did he bugle? He bugled loudly. So loudly doesn't describe the elk. The elk isn't loudly. He's bugling loudly. So we're going to draw an arrow from loudly to bugled. Now, it isn't always the word exactly after it. It is a lot of the time, but not And in your sentences, it's not going to be the word exactly after the verb all the time. So you need to ask yourself very carefully. Ask yourself, okay, how did that happen? How is the action happening? Once you figure that out, then you'll be able to find the adverb and then go back and find the action that it was doing. So that's how you're going to mark your first section on page 283. Then the PowerPoint print gives you a second clue that many adverbs end in the suffix ly. I gave you that clue as well. If a root word ends in y, change the y to I before adding ly. So on all of those ones, it says add ly to the root words to make adverbs. All of those examples, except for the last one, they all end, the root word ends in a y. So you need to change the y to an I before adding the ending. I will show you the first one on my whiteboard. For example, the first one is happy plus ly. In order to change this, we must change the y right here to an I. So H-A-P-P-I-L-Y, happily. That's how you're going to fix those. Only the last one in that section does not have a y at the end, so it doesn't need to be changed. You just add the ly on the end of that root word. Now, section 3. Think about the question how and write an adverb for each of the verbs. Eat. How would you eat? Fill in your own adverb. How would you snore? Fill in your own adverb. Then that brings us to dictation. Dictation is one complete sentence. We always start our sentences with a capital letter and end with punctuation, a period, an exclamation point, or a question mark. So listen carefully to my sentence. Write the whole thing down. Mom made yummy cherry jelly. Mom made yummy cherry jelly. One more time. Mom made yummy cherry jelly. Now I want you to go back to your sentence and I want you to find and circle the two adjectives that describe the jelly. Two adjectives that describe the jelly. You should have circled yummy and cherry. It was yummy jelly and cherry jelly. Yummy, cherry, jelly. Okay, now I want to remind you that when there's an orange box on your paper, whether it's a bone or a paw print, those are important facts that you need to read because it's helpful for that next section that you're going to work on. So at the top, I didn't go over this box, but I'm going to go over it with you now. It says, remember, an adverb is a word that describes a verb. An adverb may tell how the action of the verb is done. Now below that, there's two sentences. And the sentences are actually saying the same thing. They're just not written in the same exact order. So listen carefully. William stopped suddenly. How did he stop? Suddenly. Okay? Then the second sentence, it's the same words, but they're in a mixed up order. Suddenly, William stopped. How did he stop? Suddenly. He still stopped suddenly, even though suddenly didn't come right after the word, right after the verb. So you need to be careful as you do section 1 because your adverb will not always come right after the verb. You need to read the sentence and ask yourself, how did the action happen? Then you can look at the back, page 284. It says, read the sentences. Write the antonym. Antonym means opposite. for each underlined word in the blanks. So, my family is camping blank in the Rocky Mountains. The word underneath the line says low. You're going to write the antonym or the opposite of low. So what would be the opposite of low? Then you write that word on the line. Do that for that whole paragraph. And then section 2 says unscramble each kind of sentence and write it on the line. The first word of each sentence has a capital letter. Remember the punctuation. So the first one says declarative. You need to figure out what order those words need to go in. The first word has a capital letter. So in that first sentence, it says pebbles through Rick Lake in the. The capital letter is on Rick, which he should already have a capital letter because it's his name, but that's the only word with a capital letter. So that's what your sentence is going to start with. And you need to make it a declarative sentence. You should know all the different types of sentences already, but I will remind you right now. A declarative sentence is a statement, and it ends with a period. So it tells you about something. Next, you have an interrogative sentence. An interrogative sentence is a question, so you should know what it ends with. Next, we have an exclamatory sentence. An exclamatory sentence shows lots of feeling, and it ends with an exclamation point. Lastly, we have an imperative sentence. An imperative sentence is a command telling you to do something, and it actually ends in a period. Let me know if you have any questions. That's it for Phonics Language, and I'll see you later. Bye.